Good morning and happy Monday. Thanks for being here. I'm Stephen Romo in for Joe in Savannah today, and we have a lot to get to, beginning with the latest out of the Middle East, where there's new uncertainty surrounding that shaky ceasefire deal and the prospect for peace between U.S. and Iran. In what appears to be a dramatic escalation, President Trump said Sunday that U.S. forces seized an Iranian-flagged cargo ship after it allegedly attempted to breach a U.S. naval blockade. U.S. Central Command confirmed the ship was seized, saying it ignored repeated warnings to stop over a period of 6 hours. In response, Iran accused the U.S. of violating their fragile short-term ceasefire agreement, which is already set to expire on Wednesday. A spokesperson for Iran's military called the move an act of, quote, maritime piracy and vowed to retaliate. Now, this comes as the U.S. and Iran had already spent the weekend blaming each other for allegedly violating that ceasefire deal, with President Trump accusing Iran of firing on ships in the Strait of Hormuz and Iran effectively reclosing the strait on Saturday when the U.S. refused to stop blocking Iranian ports. That was just one day after Iran declared the critical passage was completely open. NBC News International correspondent Molly Hunter joins us now from Tel Aviv with the latest on this. Molly, good morning to you. So we're reaching nearly the end of that temporary ceasefire deal set to expire on Wednesday. It was already incredibly tense in the first place. Now, two senior U.S. administration officials telling NBC News that Vice President J.D. Vance is expected to lead another delegation to Pakistan to continue negotiations. What do we know about those potential talks and how this weekend's back and forth could impact them?
Yeah, Stephen, a lot of back and forth, and you did a really good job just there laying out kind of the chaos of words over the weekend. Big picture, we do not know that these negotiations, the second round of negotiations between the U.S. and Iran are happening. Now, from the U.S. side, the White House says, you laid out our sourcing already. Two senior administration officials say that Vice President J.D. Vance will lead a delegation, which will include Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, that they are heading to Islamabad to meet with Iran. Now, Stephen, the problem is the Iranian side has not confirmed that they are going. Last night, again, state media laid out a whole litany of reasons that they will not commit to these talks, including unrealistic expectations by the U.S. side, frequent shifts in position, and importantly, that U.S. naval blockade. And, Stephen, that was all before the incident that you've already mentioned that I know we're going to get into in the Gulf of Oman.
Yeah, let's get to that, what happened in the Gulf of Oman on Sunday. Why does the U.S. say they seized this Iranian tanker in the first place? And what more do we know about how this unfolded?
Yeah, so, Stephen, it's important we say that all the information and all of the details about that operation are coming from the U.S. side, from CENTCOM, from President Trump. Now, late last night, President Trump put a post up on Truth Social where he announced this. He said that the Tuska, which is an Iranian-flagged cargo ship, tried to get past that U.S. naval blockade. He said then a U.S. destroyer had warned the Tuska over a 6-hour period and then fired on the engine room. We have video. I know we played some of that already. Then Trump says the Navy has custody of that ship, that they are seeing what's on board. It's important to note that the Tuska is sanctioned by the U.S. Treasury. President Trump says because of previous, quote, illegal activity. We didn't get a comment from the Iranians last night, but they have said today, Stephen, that they promised to retaliate.
And there's been so much back and forth here, Molly. The U.S. stopping ships, but Iran on Saturday reclosed the Strait of Hormuz, and that just came a day after saying it was completely open. So how did they retake control in the first place, and do we know why they decided to reverse course on this?
Yeah, we don't, Stephen. I think, again, big picture is that both sides are blaming the other, violating the ceasefire agreement, but also claiming full control over this vital waterway. So during the ceasefire, the U.S. announced a naval blockade of Iranian ports last week. Over the weekend, as you mentioned, Iran said, no, we control this waterway. They opened it for about 24 hours. About a dozen ships were able to pass through that vital waterway during that time. Then they announced they were closing it. Now, the U.S. maintains that they still control this waterway. Two competing blockades, I think, is the easiest, most clear way to sum up the current situation. But the fate of the Strait of Hormuz and certainly global oil prices depend on the possibility of these negotiations, Stephen.
Certainly keeping an eye on that and that Wednesday deadline. Molly Hunter, thank you. Well, this morning, Pope Leo is in the African country of Angola as part of his ongoing tour of the continent. It's the third stop on the pontiff's four-nation trip. The head of the Catholic Church has used this tour to speak out forcefully against the war and inequality, expressing views that have drawn attacks from President Trump. NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez has more on their conflicting messages.
This week, Pope Leo traveling across Africa, greeting the faithful on a continent where the number of Catholics is rising faster than anywhere else on the planet. But what should have been a joyful trip overshadowed by the war with Iran, violence in Lebanon, and an escalating public standoff with President Trump. The Pope has been an outspoken critic of the war, not holding back after the president's threat to Iran that their whole civilization will die.
Attacks on civilian infrastructure is against international law, but that it is also a sign of the hatred, the division, the destruction the human being is capable of.
The president firing back in multiple media appearances this week.
I'm not a big fan of Pope Leo. The Pope has to understand Iran, very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
And then going even further, posting an image on social media portraying himself as a Jesus-like figure. Even the president's most ardent supporters outraged, writing, "God shall not be mocked," and "there's no context where this is acceptable." Mr. Trump later taking the image down, offering this explanation.
And I thought it was me as a doctor and had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support.
The Pope not backing down as he boarded the papal plane for Africa this week.
I have no fear of neither the Trump administration nor speaking out loudly about the message of the gospel. And that's what I believe I am called to do, what the church is called to do.
There's a long history of popes speaking out against war. In 1917, Benedict XV called the First World War a useless slaughter, while John XXIII spoke out against nuclear weapons, and John Paul II forcefully opposed the U.S. invasion of Iraq. President Trump and Pope Leo weren't always at odds.
To have the Pope from the United States of America, that's a great honor.
Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance, who converted to Catholicism and met with the Pope in May, raised eyebrows this week with this comment.
In the same way that it's important for the Vice President of the United States to be careful when I talk about matters of public policy, I think it's very, very important for the Pope to be careful when he talks about matters of theology.
The Trump administration has repeatedly invoked Christian ideals as it justifies the war with Iran, casting it as a battle of good versus evil. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth calling on Americans to pray for victory and the safety of U.S. troops.
Please pray for them every day, on bended knee, with your family, in your schools, in your churches, in the name of Jesus Christ.
Pope Leo trying to turn down the temperature on Saturday, telling reporters his message of peace was written weeks ago.
It was looked at as if I was trying to debate, again, the president, which is not in my interest at all.
Strange situation. Raf Sanchez, thanks so much. Well, back here in the U.S., new poll results show President Trump's job approval rating sinking to a new low. The latest NBC News Decision Desk poll, powered by SurveyMonkey, shows just 37% of U.S. adults approve of Trump's performance as president. It's the lowest approval rating of his second term so far. Let's dig into this with NBC News reporter Gary Grumbach for more. Gary, thanks for being here. So this was a pretty big survey, more than 32,000 people polled. Now, no White House wants that 63% disapproval rating, a little more than a few months before the midterm elections here. So what are the issues that are really dragging down the scores for the president there?
Yeah, Stephen, sometimes we look at polls and we question them because it's not a significant sample size. This is 32,000 people. These are solid numbers, and they're showing a deeply unhappy American electorate. I want to dive into some of these numbers here. 68% of Americans right now disapprove of the president's handling of inflation and cost of living. And when we dive into these numbers, it's because everything is more expensive. Gas, groceries, buying a house, all more expensive today than it was just a few years ago. And inflation really blows the rest of the economic issues out of the water here. Look at the rest of this. 45% of Americans say the most important economic matter to them right now is inflation. If you look at one of the things that's driving these numbers right now, it is the president's approval rating on the war with Iran, and it matches up almost identically to the approval rating of inflation to begin with. So it's certainly a fascinating look at the American electorate here, Stephen.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who judge the economy not by the stock markets, but from the grocery markets, how the economy is doing. A lot of people unhappy with that. Gary, also interested in the demographics here. How did age and party affiliation play into these responses?
Yeah, what we're seeing here is that young people under the age of 29, what the kids call Gen Z these days, are unhappy the most with inflation and the cost of living. And that's because, think of it, when you're younger, you're getting your first job, you're perhaps getting your first house, you're trying to get your first car maybe, and those things are most expensive right now. And it's factoring into a really unhappy American electorate and people that are perhaps voting for the first or second times here in their elections. And it's also interesting because fewer Americans said the economic situation is better today than it was a year ago, than in any previous decision desk poll that we've taken during this president's second term here, Stephen.
And speaking of approval or disapproval of the president, Gary, we know the Trump administration is set to launch its tariff refund system today. American businesses that paid some huge customs bills can now request for that money to come back to them. That's after the Supreme Court ruling that President Trump's tariffs should be stricken down back in February, calling them unconstitutional. Do we know how this will actually play out, and any idea how many companies will try to get these refunds?
Yeah, this is a big deal and a long time coming for these more than 56,000 companies, everything from the biggest retailers of Walmart to your small mom and pop stores on the corner. They're trying to get some of the $127 billion that they are owed. Remember, the Supreme Court struck down president's use of IEEPA tariffs. That's where this money is coming from. And importers are now going to have to go onto this website and get their receipts for their electronic payments. But it may take 60 to 90 days for these payments to actually get to the importers, Stephen.
All right, something we're going to keep our eye on as well. Gary Grumbeck, thanks for breaking that down for us. All right, let's head to Louisiana now. The city of Shreveport is grieving this morning after a horrific mass shooting there. Police say a man killed 8 children in the deadliest act of gun violence the country's seen in the last 2 years. That suspected shooter is also now dead. NBC News correspondent Ryan Chandler has more on what officials are describing as a domestic violence incident.
As the devastating details here in Shreveport, Louisiana continue to unfurl, NBC News can confirm the identity of the gunman who took the lives of 8 children in this house behind me. Shamar Elkins was the father of 7 of them, as 2 women are now fighting for their lives in the hospital, one of which was Elkins' wife.
Heartbreak in Louisiana.
It's a terrible morning in Shreveport, and we all mourn.
After a shocking morning of gun violence.
Right now, we have at least 10 individuals that were struck by gunfire last night in a domestic disturbance. 8 of these individuals are deceased.
The violence breaking out just after 6 in the morning here. Authorities say they responded to a domestic call spread between 2 residences where they found 10 people shot.
The ranges of the decedents are from 1 year of age to approximately 14 years of age. All of the deceased in this case are juveniles.
After that, police say the lone suspected gunman carjacked a vehicle and drove to neighboring Bossier City, leading police on a chase that ended in an exchange of gunfire.
At which point in time, Shreveport police officers did discharge their firearm, and that individual is deceased.
Families devastated.
To wake up and to hear this kind of news that someone would shoot 8 children, 8 innocent children, it's just unreal.
No officers were injured in the pursuit, which spanned several miles and 4 different locations across the area.
I think about this community and what this community has lost, and I don't have the words to give you, and I'm sorry.
The people of Shreveport grappling with an unthinkable loss.
Just devastating. Our thanks to Ryan Chandler for that report. All right, turning now to the weather. Much of the country had been feeling like summer for a while, but that came to an abrupt end over the weekend when a cold front rolled in and temperatures plummeted. They had been nearly 25 degrees above normal in parts of the country, but that changed fast, even bringing snow to parts of the Northeast and New England. This change also brought some powerful winds. Take a look at this gust carrying some umbrellas through the stands in Pittsburgh during the Pirates game yesterday. The wind so bad there, it temporarily delayed that game. And this cold front also hit the upper Midwest and plains, which are still cleaning up from the dozens of tornadoes last week. A sudden blast of snow and freezing temperatures hitting the Northeast.
Yesterday it was beautiful out, and then today I wake up to this.
Upstate New York getting a wintry mix in the middle of spring. 81 million Americans in the Midwest and Northeast now under frost and freeze alerts through Tuesday morning.
It is snowing. Good old Pennsylvania.
A Sunday morning surprise for folks in New Hampshire.
This is crazy. I can't believe it.
The cold front bringing quarter-size hail to Texas. And 48-mile-per-hour winds to Pennsylvania. Sending umbrellas flying and putting quite the damper on the Pirates game in Pittsburgh. Meanwhile, the Plains and upper Midwest cleaning up from dozens of tornadoes this weekend as they now brace for a freeze.
You never think it's going to be you, and then it's you, and now it's this.
Back on the East Coast, millions of Americans who just felt an early summer sizzle.
It's so crazy. I kind of don't know how to feel. I don't know how to dress for this weather.
Now getting a shock to the system as the cold makes a comeback. Hard to keep up with what to wear. And the coldest night, by the way, for the Northeast and New England should be tonight with widespread freeze watches already in effect. More on the forecast now with your Morning News Now weather. Meteorologist Michelle Grossman joins us now. Michelle, I'm not going to blame the meteorologists. I'm married to one. I know you guys don't like it, but a lot of people complaining about that cold.
I was going to say, you're going to hear it from Stephen, not from me, if you're going to complain about the weather. But yeah, the dogs in that video were the best dressed because they were in the coats, and you need the coats once again. You need the hats. It feels like winter, and we're going to feel like that for a couple days before that warmth comes back. Felt like summer last week. It feels like winter today. We have 90 million Americans under freeze alert. So if you planted those flowers early because you enjoyed that summer-like weather, you need to cover them up tonight. We're looking at freeze alerts, whether that's a frost advisory or a freeze warning from the Midwest, all throughout the Great Lakes, into the Northeast, and also the Mid-Atlantic. It's going to be a chilly start today, also a chilly start tomorrow. So dress those kids warmly at the bus stop. There's that temperature contrast. You see that dip, right? So that's allowing that cold air from Canada to kind of filter in, and it is chilly. It's chilly this morning, but we're going to see those daytime highs well below normal for this time of year. Out to the west, we have a ridge, an area of high pressure, and that's bringing in warmer air. So a big difference as we look across the country. Take a look at some of these temperatures. We're looking at temperatures in the 40s and 50s in the Northeast, 6 degrees below what is typical for this time of year in Chicago, 55, just 54 in Baltimore. And then there's that big difference out to the west, into the plains. Temperatures feeling summer-like there, near 80 degrees in Denver. That's 16 degrees above what is typical for this time of year. They're going to top out right around 79, and 94 degrees in Phoenix. That is today. Then as we go throughout tomorrow, we are also looking at temperatures below normal once again into the Northeast, well below normal in New York City, about 10 degrees below what is typical for this time in late April, 54. And then really warm temperatures out to the west. We're looking at temperatures in the 70s and 80s. But here's the good news. We're looking at over 30,000 runners today running 26.2 miles at the Boston Marathon. Big day. And we're looking at temperatures really nice for running. 44 degrees as we go throughout the morning, 49 by noon, and 3 p.m. we are looking at 51 degrees. Will be a teeny bit breezy, but not too bad. Looking at a really nice forecast for those runners. Out west, this will be a big story over the next several days. We're looking at a wet start. It was wet yesterday. It's going to be wet today. And then we're going to see that rain shield really expand tomorrow into the Pacific Northwest, into Pacific Northwest into Southern California as well. Heavy rain. We could see some flash flooding in spots, and also some snow will be falling in the Sierra Nevada mountains by tomorrow. We could see feet of snow there. So this is tomorrow where we see that snow transitioning, the rain transitioning to snow, and seeing that rain shield really grow from the Pacific Northwest to Southern California. Winter alerts for this time of year. We're looking along the Sierra Nevada mountains, over 6,000 feet by 5,500 feet. We're looking at 24 inches of snow is possible in some spots. So the skiers will be happy for at least another week or so there. There in Texas, we're looking at a frontal boundary kind of draped across Texas. It's kind of extending from Florida into Texas. You can see the rain is falling. Where you see those darker colors, the reds, the oranges, the yellows, that's where we're seeing the heaviest rain falling. And we do have the potential for seeing some flash flooding in some spots as we head throughout the afternoon. And this is why, because we're looking at that frontal boundary kind of parked over that area, bringing that wet weather. Stephen?
Looks like spring in Texas. All right, Michelle. Thank you.
Yep.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app, or watch live on our YouTube channel.